It wasn't inspired.
It could be
It
true.
wasn't inspired. I guess that's the best way for me to put it. It's good. It's got decent stuff. But man, you go back to some of that stuff on Tooth and Nail, and it's, to me, it has that feeling of these are inspired songs.
I get that.
Hey, if you're a fan of Dokken, this video is for you. I never had this on vinyl. I remember you bought it on cassette. I think we were in college.
Had it on my Walkman going to class, just kiss of death on, stepping out of the dorm on full blast.
So those of you that watch when we do the album openings will probably remember it was a few weeks ago this one came into the studio, and I got it because I knew we'd want to talk about it eventually.
Sure.
And then after the last week I thought, okay, we need to bust this one out and go through it. First things first, album cover. I thought the album cover for Tooth and Nail was dumb. I just did.
Like that mechanical claw
it's
coming.
a claw
I never
coming
understood
out, Dokken. It was Nail, at least. I don't know about the tooth part.
I never got it, but love the album.
Yeah, but the album was just unbelievable.
Sure.
The next album, Under Lock and Key, a photograph of the guys. I liked it a little bit better
In their 80s suits.
Yeah,
whatever.
but again, it wasn't something.
That was me posing
clothes,
for my album cover, just so you know.
What's that?
That was me posing for my album cover.
I could tell that was the Don
pose.
Dokken or Jeff Pilson stance or something. So I didn't care much for that album cover. And of course, the very first one, Breaking the Chains, was just a logo, which is kind of cool, in its simplicity. That was nice. This was the first time for me when they made an album cover that I thought was just interesting. That was engaging. That felt like that you could look at and have a little bit of enjoyment with.
Well, I think we've talked about album covers recently in the sense that sometimes who the hell's putting these things together?
Yeah.
Whose artistic vision was the claw? Coming out.
I've got an idea. We're gonna have a
claw coming out of the
claw
album.
mitt looking thing.
I mean, seriously, I want to be in some of these rooms where somebody's pitching those ideas, or the band going like, "Dude, that's gonna be so awesome.
Dude. It's gonna be so sweet."
Yeah, the claw's gonna come out.
They
grab
lived
the audience.
in a different time when a lot of this stuff was penciled out.
Sure.
Today you can mock the things up and make it look almost like it's going to.
Do you like A or B or C? What's behind door number?
But
3.
there it was concept, and then they had to create concept.
Right.
So it was a little different world, and so then you'd end up a lot of times with garbage, so I didn't like that one. This one was cool, and I liked this one because it looked.
Dude, you're killing me.
I just didn't. Well, because look, man,
I know you have an artistic eye.
There's people that don't think these things are important, these album covers, but they are. This is not only was it part of the experience, but just like books, people buy books based on what the cover looks like all the time. And so that's why people put so much emphasis on this. That's why the Kiss stuff was so disappointing to me.
In the 80s.
For that reason. Because it's like, you guys are supposed to be the visual people. You're supposed to be the masters of this.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like, and you guys, knowing how important that is, you just didn't do what you could have done. So,
right. I mean, if you're walking, and I guess you're absolutely right. When you're walking in 1987, you had to physically go into the record store and buy it. And so you have your album on a rack, as you guys remember, with tons and tons of stuff on the rack, or you're flipping through. That look cool? Does that look cool? Like, that's how it was.
Yeah.
So if you don't have, from like a marketing standpoint, if you don't have something that jumps out and is like, whoa, that's awesome, this stands out.
I bought albums all the time that I bought it purely because it looked cool. I did that. I've got 100, maybe 200 to 300 records that I bought that way.
There's a lot of people like that, right?
Yeah, of course. So I thought they actually, for the first time, did a really, really good job with an album cover because it looks kind of like a crest.
I love the blue.
The blue is awesome, and just it's interesting that this ribbon that goes down here and this they're not the same. They because it would have been. It would almost seem like let's mirror the thing, but they didn't do that, which made it really nice. The other thing that they do that's really cool that gets kind of overlooked when it comes to art. When you create things like this, is the gradient. There's almost no solid colors on this album cover, except in the background on the blues and the blacks. When you get into this stuff, it's all gradients. And it actually gives you a little bit of a three-dimensional sense right here, having this go dark to light and then that go light to dark. And it gives this feeling of depth because like you can almost look through it simply by the way they alternated the gradients. That way, that way, that way, that way, back and forth. And it just adds this. And then when you notice the Dokken logo itself, again, you go from this very light blue to this very dark, almost navy type blue, a gradient across this thing. And that, just the gradients alone gave this so much depth that I loved that. And then even up here. And it all looks like it was done when you get really close.
For sure.
Yeah, and when you get really, really close, it almost looks like it was done with colored pencil. I don't know. I never really saw how they did it, but if you get right up next to it, it has that kind of look.
Interesting. For me, I just remember this coming out and all the colors, the depth, the things, everything that kind of, and I'm thinking, okay, they're about to blow up. Because, from a record company standpoint, Under Lock and Key was great.
Yeah.
Maybe they had more budget, so we can go, instead of just a picture and a photo, with the logo of the band, like black and yellow, however, Under Lock and Key was, right? Hey, we're going to go more artistic, and maybe they had the budget for it.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. And I think that they did I loved this cover. I thought the cover was just awesome. And I even liked this. Even though you'll notice that a couple of these, like this bird is all the same one, I think. Is that right? I remember looking at this really closely, and it's like they'd use the same one over and over. And then these down here, I don't know. I dug the color, the black and white, the way it almost looks cut out and set on top of it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely.
And then it has this medieval thing in the blue in the background.
Yeah, it is cool. Whoever came up with it, good job.
Yeah,
because this is one of them that stands up. The test of time.
Yeah.
What do we say? 38 years later, and it's still pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. Thought this was that. So the cover was really, really well done. So then on the inside, so let's start on this side. I wish I could, and maybe somebody can help me, because usually I try to figure this stuff out and see. I don't understand what they were doing with the red and the yellow, with the swords. You got the axe, and then, but it's this medieval thing with the blue and the black, and then they throw those colors in there, and I don't know.
It looks cool.
But it looks cool.
I mean, obviously, I had the cassette, so mine was like tinier. So, I just thought it was cool, and that's about where I left it. I didn't do the deep dive, but it does have the medieval kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's on a camel. Yeah, there's camels here, and
you can see like the knight on a horse and that's the.
Like a joust.
Yeah, like a jousting thing. Yeah, it could just be accents. Somebody was like,
just for fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all it is.
But here we
I
are,
love
deep
overthinking.
Diver. Yeah.
I love overthinking.
The deep dive into it.
So these photos look a little bit. These two look like they could have been yearbook pictures.
You remember like Sears, like the headshot?
Yeah, that's what these two for sure look like. George kind of does. Don's the only one that looks like that it wasn't taken for a yearbook at the Sears Sears Portrait Studio.
Hey, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go get your headshots down at Sears.
You three.
Yeah, I'm gonna wake up and stand by the window. That's what it looks like. Just look. I woke up like this.
It's so funny.
Don Dokken, lead singer of Dokken.
So, yeah, exactly. So anyway,
but still, that's part of the marketing. They look cool.
Yeah, they did it. The whole packaging for this thing, I thought they really, really did a good job.
And the best thing is the music backed it up, man.
Hang on just a second. This will be really quick. With hundreds of videos on our channel now, we've made playlists to make it easy for you to find whatever the thing is that you're interested in. We have a playlist with all of our Rush videos, Kiss, Led Zeppelin, Van Halen. We have categories like 80s metal and even our popular magazine flip-throughs, where we go through page by page with Circus Magazine, Hit Parader, and others all in 4K resolution. You'll find it all organized and ready to explore. Just click the playlist tab on our channel's homepage. All right, back to the video. Now, this is where I got to tell you something. For me, it's okay. I know no one's gonna, because so many people love this album, and I've seen the comments that people have made. And let me tell you why I say that. There's a lot of, okay, first of all, George Lynch, if you ever wondered if George Lynch had a sound, this will prove it to you. Because you can listen to this whole thing, and the guitar playing is all George Lynch. Clearly.
All awesome.
I mean, he has a sound, you know,
Yeah.
like his technique, the way he plays, and it's all over this album. Because it's one thing for a vocalist to have their own sound, because you just are born with a sound,
Sure,
you know, and and then you discover how to carry a tune. A guitar player, it's not so simple.
There's a tonality, your technique. You know, are you kind of like someone that kind of lays back and stays in the pocket, or can you shred and maybe even show some skills over the top, you know?
Yeah.
That are like, whoa, that guy's, I mean, because in 1987, you're kind of have this like legendary guitar status. And I think it's kind of cool. And I think what's extra cool, I'm not even going to go there, extra cool, maybe even extra cool, is that George, his riffs and what he does on this album it's simple, but there's coolness to it. I mean, it's not like he's got the, like you mentioned, technique, right? He's got that gallop, you know, like that he does on the opening track here, you know, Kiss of Death, right? I mean, he's got just coolness all over it. And I think that's what makes him stand out. He can shred, obviously on the solos. He's doing some amazing technical stuff. But there's that coolness to it that it's not overly... We talk about how production and space. George has that. He can hold one note and sounds amazing, and then shred all over that after that. And it's like, whoa, that was tasteful. And I think that's what makes George, to me, stand out from the pack. Because he's a tasteful player. I don't know if that's where you were going with it. So
sort of, yes. I mean, yes, in some way. But here's the thing about this album to me. The songs on this album, to me, when I listen to this record, it sounds like a bunch of guys about to break up. And let me tell you why.
Are you looking at that from...
It's hindsight now.
Hindsight, for sure.
But now that I listen to it, it's like, you know what? I can kind of hear it in the music. And let me explain why I say that. First of all, to me, this record sounds like if you were to take Tooth and Nail, an Under Lock and Key, and throw it in an AI and say, give me a Dokken album, this is what you'd get. It has the gang vocals. It has the certain hooky kind of choruses. It has the George Lynch riffs and all the other stuff, but it doesn't have the Into the Fire song anywhere on here. And so when I look at George Lynch, I'm just going to be critical of this for just a second. To me, his guitar solos are, first of all, they're amazing. Okay,
sure.
There's no knocking the fact that the guy is an unbelievably, there's a reason that some people look back at the 80s and go, he was one of the greatest. But some of these solos to me, especially like the one that we were just talking about, on most of them, the
like Mr. Scary,
what's the first
I think
song?
that's on here.
Dang it,
Kiss of Death.
Kiss of Death. To me, that guitar solo, it almost sounds like he was in the middle of kind of working it all out, and they all got mad at each other, and he says, fine, leave it. And then that was it. Because I listened to it, and it's great, but it doesn't sound complete. It sounds like just a bunch of, here's awesome. Okay, fine, keep it. That's fine, whatever. It doesn't sound, because when you go to Into the Fire, it has all of his technique and awesomeness, and it's set in there, and it's like its own song. But with this one, Kiss of Death, it just sounds like crazy, amazing guitar playing that wasn't really organized for the song. That's the way it sounds like to me. And most of his solos to me sound like that on this album. So anyway, and it doesn't take away from his playing. His playing's amazing. But this is why I say it sounds like a band about to break up, because it sounds like people getting mad at each other and not having the full, let's put this together like the song Into the Fire, which is and the way I can describe it is, it's like, did you ever see that South Park one where they were talking about Family Guy and the manatees that would go grab the different parts of the joke?
Okay.
I don't know if you ever... okay. Anyway, it's basically like formulaic joke writing.
Okay.
And to me, some of these songs sound like peace, 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 there's your song. These are all Dokken things. There's a Dokken song. And then let's throw some gang vocals on top of it. And again, it almost sounds to me like a bunch of guys frustrated with each other, and we're just doing typical stuff.
Yeah,
and then that's the way it hits me.
Yeah, I kind of look at it, and you make a good point, because they were on the brink, right? I mean, this is where they're about to hit the top and peak, and so they're coming off a successful album. They're coming here. And yeah, this is where all the infighting, we know that, John would come in at night and do his vocals when nobody's around, and all the crazy stories that you hear. And whether that's true or not, I don't even care, because I like the final product. At the end, I can also see, so I'm kind of disagreeing with your take, but I'm also agreeing with your take. So let me explain, at least in my head, what I'm thinking. And what it is I feel that this product, these songs, and we can go through the song tracks, right? To me, George is saying, because remember, it was like, is it George's band or is it Don's band? But it's named after me. I'm Don Dokken, right? It's all that, because Jeff and Mick were the role players. So it's whose band really is it? Oh, I wrote those songs. No, I didn't. I wrote that riff. I think this is kind of in your sense, is I'm like, who's putting their staple of whose band this is? And I think George is like, I'm bringing my A game and putting out my best licks, my best riffs, and my best soloing to prove to everybody out there listening who kicks ass on this album. This guy.
Yeah.
You can say you write the songs, Don, but I'm playing. And I think his signature and his signature sound, technique, because you can go and take this to Lynch Mob, which to me is George's next progression, and that is the next evolution of George and his awesomeness and his playing, right? What did Don do after this? Nobody cares. I mean, maybe some. I know some of you do. I want to say, I say that tongue-in-cheek, but in reality, come on. You can't compare the two camps. You got Lynch Mob coming out, and it's a couple years later, and I remember Don did something with, I think it was the Europe guitar player. That's how it doesn't resonate, right? But that's just from me, So in a way, the disharmony creates this special piece. And that's where I think, why I feel this is peak Dokken, because Don's singing is great. As much as I bag on Don's vocals on this are he's awesome.
Dude, and you're exactly right. This is the best he is.
I think it's the power struggle. I guess that's my ultimate point. It's like, whose band really is it? Because by the time this album comes out, think about how many covers on Guitar Player, George is all over the place. You didn't see Don on magazine covers as much. I mean, George was tan. He was got the good hair. He was ripped up there for a while. Like, healthy dude. Like, all that. I mean, he's selling.
And Wicked Sensation is as good as anything that he had done with Dokken for the most part.
Right.
I mean,
that just says, hey, so that's what I'm saying. So in a way, this album kind of has that tug of war of who's going to be leading the charge going forward.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that. My problem with this album is way more fundamental. When I look at, I keep coming back to that one song, but it is one of their greatest, Into the Fire.
Yeah,
that song is so spectacular, and the solo is great, the hook is great, the singing's great, everything about it. there isn't, in my humble opinion, there is no song on this album that rises. That's what I said earlier. These songs are okay.
Yeah. So you're saying
they sound like Formula AI Dokken to me. Okay. It's not bad. It just doesn't. When I go and I start going, but compare it to Into the Fire. George Lynch doesn't try to show every amazing thing he can do, but he does this perfectly tasteful, awesome thing that he throws right in there.
Instead of having this diamond gem,
the harmonies are good, and it's not the gang vocals which they put all over this album where they're just like rah 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 rah. It was more thoughtful. There was more heart, and this has harmony too. I don't want to knock it, but it just, again, my point was this sounds like AI Dokken. Gotcha. It doesn't have that. It doesn't have some of that stuff where you feel like they really, it sounded, and I think you nailed it. Because to me, this sounds like a formula.
It's prepackaged.
It sounds like this is
packaged. This is who we are.
This is how we do a hook, and this is what we're going to do for the pre-chorus.
I get that.
And then you put your solo, and then it's like, all right, fine, keep it, whatever, get out of here, you know. Yeah, and that's the way this thing felt.
Granted, when you're at your peak, you can maybe do the pre-formula, and I get that. Because all these songs, hooky, catchy, got the big vocals, got Don's awesome, got the super solo, got the big drums, we're good to go. Next.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I'm okay with, if I got, a scale of 1 to 10, I got a bunch of 8s, and maybe because I think Mr. Scary's on here.
Yeah. See, so let me tell you something, because that's the last song on the first side.
Right.
What they, in my opinion, of course, this is hindsight, and that's what's fun about this, because it's utterly meaningless and nobody cares.
Yeah,
but
we dig deep into this.
If I could go back, if I was given the opportunity to produce this album, this would be you would have taken Mr. Scary and made the entire album that. And it would have been more like a Dream Theater album, where because if you ever seen, the first time I saw him in concert, it was the most interesting thing, because I can't think of the singer's name. But basically he comes out, he sings a couple lines, and he's out of there. And then lets the guys jam for a while and let everybody be amazed. And then he comes back out, sings a couple lines, and he's out of here again.
There is no way in hell,
I know,
I can tell you that Don is allowing stepping back.
No way, but
that's what makes it awesome.
But Mr. Scary was so great. When I listened to this, and when I listened to all the great riffs, I mean, the song "Kiss of Death," the guitar riffs in that song are so, you don't need Don. The guitar riffs in that song are so great. And if you would have just been able to get Don out of there and just George, do the song, take your time on that solo. I hear it in there. It's great.
Yeah.
Put that thing together. Don, we're going to bring him in to sing a couple lines.
That's what makes it great.
And then, but then it just turned, and that's what I mean.
That's the power struggle.
I think it lost some of what could have been. I think it could have been so much better if they would have been able to take the times and not done the little formula.
This is where bands, look, this is the great thing about bands, and when you have two big egos clashing, it's a fight to the death.
Yeah.
And the death was the kiss of death.
Yeah.
Tongue in cheek.
Was the album.
Was the album that, you're basically going through, and I mean, they toured on this. They had the live album that came after this, which actually, we're talking about covers. That one has that person with like the tattoo all over their back cover.
Oh yeah, because it's like a Japanese or something, right?
It's like, because they, Dokken was like, we're big in Japan, right? I mean, they're huge, but they did have a huge following over there, and I think the live album after this had the cool cover, but that was pretty much it. After that, that was it.
Yeah, because they had that Dysfunctional thing that came out of
Dysfunctional had later. I think somebody mentioned that that's like when the band got back together, and they had Too High to Fly, I think is the song.
I don't know. I saw an interview with Don where he was talking about some of it, but that was
pretty much it.
I know nothing about it, honestly.
The rest of the album, like you said, it's kind of like, all right. Again, I bought that one too.
I didn't buy it. I don't think I've ever even, I don't know that I've ever even heard anything off of it. But okay, Kiss of Death, the riff is amazing. George's stuff is so great. And again, the solo, it's so brutal, but it doesn't, to me, it feels like he's still figuring out the solo, got mad, stormed out, and then and it was kind of like, fine, leave it.
Good enough.
That's to me. A lot of the solos on here feel like that. Like he's doing these incredible things, but didn't rein it in.
We get caught in. The solos are all amazing on all of these. Yeah. Talk about his tone, his sustain, all the things that make George. But I do think that this is his best work. I say it's his best work in Dokken because I think we mentioned the Lynch Mob album is incredible.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like I said, that's
that guy that I can't remember his name. The guy that sang that stuff was
Oni
crazy.
Logan. Fantastic,
amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So, Prisoner Chained by Love, and that one has like gang vocals in it.
No, they all do.
Night by night, living night by night. That has some sort of one of these has harmonies. Standing in the Shadows, I think that one might have. Heaven Sent. There's Mr. Scary there at the end of the first side.
Heaven Sent's a kind of a cool song. That one had I do remember that one, like the video, because George is like, they're in like a cemetery, and he's got that Mr. Scary, like the Bones guitar. And he's, I don't know. That was
the first song on here that actually had a kind of a unique guitar tone in it.
Yes.
Because the rest of it was all just real standard George Lynch tone, but it had some interesting little bluesy,
it did have some cool things in there. Obviously, we talked about Mr. Scary. Yeah, it had like a deeper kind of sound. It was almost like it was just like slightly out of tune. Almost, it was like, I don't know if dissonant is like the right sound, but it sounded cool.
Yeah, Mr. Scary was.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm saying that.
Only so many tears you can cry. Only so many. See, this is what I mean.
The formula part.
I could have gone. You could have just shown me the name of the song. I'm like, it sounds like a Dokken tune, and then you listen to it, and it sounds like Formula Dokken tune.
Oh, if there's a Formula Dokken, this is the album.
But
that's what you're saying.
It's an okay tune. Burning Like a Flame, similar. Lost Behind a Wall was kind of interesting.
This one that had the helicopters.
Conceptually,
right? Although now I think about it, Burning Like a Flame was actually pretty good because it was more upbeat, definitely poppy, almost like a lot of these songs. You can picture them like in an arena type, and everybody just singing along. But that's what they were. That's if they would have stayed together, they could have kind of maybe filled some stadiums and things.
Yeah,
a little bit more. But
Stop Fighting Love, City of Gypsies, Sleepless. I mean, I don't know. I've listened to them.
I think Sleepless Night's the one that's got the cool intro, cool guitar tone as well. But yeah, again.
But I'll tell you something, and this will be the least popular thing that I'm already pissed off a bunch of people I know.
Yeah, all your Dokken fans are like.
I've already upset a bunch of people because this is not my favorite Dokken album. And this is the one where it's really going to bother people.
Okay, tell me.
The best song on this album
is Dream Warriors?
Dream Warriors. I know that's a totally unpopular thing, but it is. I got to tell you something. When they got asked to put that song together for that movie, I don't know, they pulled out all the stops and is just, I hate to say it, it is an excellent song. It is catchy. It's produced well. It's everything about that song. I hate to say it because it just seems so like a silly take to have on this album, but it is a great, catchy, memorable. The whole thing about it, man.
It's maybe paying for Don's house.
Well, I think we were talking about this before.
The fact that the royalties from the movie.
That tune, if you own your publishing, you can make an enormous amount of money off of a song.
Yeah, well,
I tell you,
doing all right.
I just mentioned this just to kind of put it in perspective. The song, I had those songs in those movies for years afterwards. I was getting checks from BMI because what happened, not only was it getting played in the United States, which you get royalties for, all of a sudden I'm getting a check from Turkey and a check, all over the world. You just started watching the movie spread around the planet and you're getting all these royalties. So the point is, so I had that for years.
Yeah.
I kept getting checks and it wasn't even a big movie. And that was the thing. When you have something like this, that guy Just one tune, if it's in the right movie, the right thing. And I know it's a terrible take because everybody's going to go, dude, how can that be your favorite song? Everything else is so much better. I think everything else on here sounded like so formulaic Dokken. That song.
You're making a good argument, and I get you.
That song sounded like they got this opportunity to make a song for a thing, and they don't always take them. I mean, people will say, we want you to write a song, and they're like, and then they don't end up using it for one reason or another. They say, hey, dude, we're going to write a great song.
I gave rock and roll to you. Is that the Kiss one?
God gave rock and roll. Although that's an old Argent tune, but still, and redone by a few different people. But here's the deal. Argent, those guys, they're making money every single time that song gets played. Yeah. Every time that movie gets played. And that's the part that's incredible about this, the way this publishing works. So that song alone.
It also tells you how big Dokken was at the time. For them to even be approached by, a movie type of thing. Dude, the guys, they're laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah. And the truth is.
That's how it is. It's okay.
It's a good, solid tune.
It's got the
and a lot of people like that song, and I don't want to not like it just because it was
the Robert J. Hadfield stamp of
approval. I like it's as far as the songs on this album go.
But it does, like you said, it does kind of stick out on this album because that was the one that I'd listen to it through, and I'm like, that one doesn't fit.
No, it doesn't.
Fast forward,
right?
So I can get to my Kiss of Death on as I flip tape over, right?
Yeah.
Get in the class.
No, it is clearly a tune that was like, hey, we should throw this song on there too.
Right.
That was
because it was obviously on the Nightmare on Elm Street soundtrack album, but a lot of bands used to do that. The song featured on the album on that soundtrack, we're just going to add.
It's going to help sell albums, and it probably did. It probably helped move this album having that song on there, at least to some people.
This album didn't do bad. It did good.
No, this album, look, and I know I'm the oddball out by talking about this way. I still, the more and more I spend time thinking about this, because I loved Dokken so much. Those other two albums, Tooth and Nail and Under Lock and Key, I think to this day, if you put them on, I could sing every single word because I loved those things.
They're catchy rock songs.
I really think that the more and more I think about it, their high watermark for me, not from a production standpoint, was Tooth and Nail. The songs are so well crafted. They're so
maybe
thoughtful.
They were hungrier at the time.
And I think that happens a lot. This to me, again, sounded, it's not bad because there's bad albums. To me, it just sounded like an AI version of, hey, what does Dokken sound like? Here they are, Dokken song, Dokken song, Dokken song, Dokken song. I go, okay. And it just, so as a result, it wasn't inspired.
That could be true.
It wasn't inspired. I guess that's the best way for me to put it. It's good. It's got decent stuff. But man, you go back to some of that stuff on Tooth and Nail, and it's, to me, it has that feeling of these are inspired songs.
I get that. Yeah, in comparison, absolutely. I know we got two reviews, right? A positive.
Yeah, I've got
and
a couple here that we're going to read. So, as what we do on this channel a lot, if you haven't watched this before, is we go and...
I know we can go back and forth on this one, but I want to hear what the critics, the journalists...
We'll always go back and read a couple things that people had to say at the time and see what their takes were, and then kind of see how that resonates with what our takes are.
In 2025. Yeah,
exactly.
That sounds good.
So let's take a look at these. So I have 3 different reviews. They're all very, very short. But there's, I think as I recall, 2 of these, they didn't like it, and one of them he did.
Okay.
So we'll just take a quick look at these. So the first one is the San Francisco Examiner. This is December 6th, 1987. And it's Dokken Back for the Attack. Dokken, a quasi-lyrical metal band, has been pumping it out consistently for 7 years now. And it is crunch time again for singer Don Dokken and his playmates. They give us about 63 minutes worth of buzzsaw rock on Back for the Attack, and it all sounds just fine. Some of the songwriting has that studio rush, isn't this awesome hastiness about it that the band was thought to have abandoned in favor of a more studied, read commercial approach on last year's Under Lock and Key. More of the band's Salad Days metallic grind is back, but so are the bonehead lyrics and unimaginative tunes. Still, given the musical generosity on Back for the Attack, there had to be a few standout tracks, and there are the blistering opener, Kiss of Death, which, by the way, Just the George Lynch guitar part alone. You can take Don out of it.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned. And it's amazing just listening to George. I could listen to it without Don and be just as happy with it. The standout rhythm section work and general creepiness on Mr. Nasty, Dokken's vocals on Lost Behind the Wall. So, although Mr. Nasty I don't think is correct.
No, Mr. Scary.
It's so funny reading some of these people when they throw that in there. So, yeah, Mr. Scary.
The editor missed the mark on that one. Okay.
But anyway, so he kind of like boneheaded lyrics. And like I said, it felt like...
Formulated, yeah.
Formula Dokken. Okay. All right, Dokken, Back for the Attack. This is another one where he wasn't super impressed. The second hard rock heavy metal band this year to put out an album with over an hour's worth of music crammed onto a single vinyl LP. The other was Def Leppard.
And, sorry to interrupt, but I mean, an hour's worth of LP music, that was kind of pushing the bounds of...
Oh, heck yeah.
Of what an album could put out. So you're getting your money's worth. Because I do remember, again, being the cassette guy at the time, I was like, whoa, that's a lot of music.
Because you used to like to fit an album on a 90-minute tape, 45.
Right.
That's a good point. And it was a very, very... very long album. Okay, let's see here. So Dokken's fifth album is as lyrically ambitious, aids the Parents Music Resource Center, the Chernobyl accident, as it is musically doctrinaire. But unlike a band like Whitesnake, who seems proud to march around in their little fenced-off musical area, Dokken is all over the map. Wicked lead guitar from George Lynch makes Steve Vai sound like the not-so-great pretender he is. Them's fighting words for some people.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see here. The solo on Night by Night...
Glad he knows who Steve Vai is.
Yeah, well, yeah. So the guy writing this at least knows who these people are. The solo on Night by Night will have budding axemen and axewomen tying their fingers in knots. And again, like I said, you can't knock the playing. The guy nailed it. It
George
was just
brings his A game.
It was almost like what you said at the beginning. He was going out of his way to say, "Let me just show you what I'm capable of doing right now. Whether it fits with the song or not, I'm going to blow your mind right now." And he did. Like I said, I could listen to that, take Don's voice out of it, and I'd be thoroughly entertained. Okay, let's see here. Fingers and Knots. Boston Harmony's here. Beatles Harmony there. Black Sabbath thud, anonymous rock, arena rock that suddenly develops a personality, easily the best album of their career. Forget the fact that they seem to think that an idiot savant is someone so smart they can't see anything very clearly anymore. This is actually a prerequisite for being a rock critic. Back for the Attack should provide their profile, career, and bank account enough to buy a dictionary, a thesaurus, heck, a whole library, and ignore it. So again, he doesn't hate the album, but he's like it's
mailing it in.
It's a little bit of that stuff.
Yeah, I get it.
So,
but I'm at least he acknowledges that George is ripping.
That he's amazing. Yeah. There's no question about it. Okay, so this one, as I recall, the guy actually was more into it.
Okay.
Dokken, Back for the Attack. Hey everybody, are you ready to go rocking again with Dokken? Well, fasten your seatbelt and hang on.
Good start.
The new album by Dokken, Back for the Attack, boasts a sticker saying over 60 minutes of music. And believe me, they don't waste a second of it. This 4-piece heavy, and I do mean heavy, metal band led by singer Don Dokken blazes its way through 13 rip-roaring songs that will blast your amps completely out. Kiss of Death is evident of that. If you are a fan of frantic, faster-than-light guitar work like my friend Dale is...
Okay, Dale.
Hey,
Dale.
Shout out to Dale.
Woo! Rock on, Dale.
Then this album is what you need. The guitar work, although at times repetitious, of George Lynch is among the quickest you'll find around. Sometimes that's not the best of my taste, but for Dokken it works. If you are a heavy metal fan, then this album is for you. Prisoner, Burning Like a Flame, and Dream Warriors should be to your liking, and so should the cast of Back for the Attack. The combination of Mick Brown on drums, Jeff Pilson on bass, keeps solid and strong foundation for Lynch's guitar work, and Don Dokken's vocals are suited for this type of music. And again, he for Don Dokken, getting back to the beginning, although I think the songs themselves are a little bit phoned in, there's no arguing with the fact that Don is top form, George is top form as far as their skill set and presentation, their ability to present something that will kind of go, dude, you're really good at what you do.
Right.
You have the skills. Okay. All in all, Back for the Attack is a strong heavy metal album. I must emphasize heavy metal, because if that's not your cup of tea, then stay away from this one. But if it is, then rush out and pick up a copy of Dokken's latest, You Should Be Thrilled.
That's cool.
He gives it 3 stars out of, I'm guessing, I don't know.
I remember last time we were looking at reviews, we were doing stars, and then you were like, out of 10?
Exactly.
No, it's out of 5.
I think this must be out of 5, because there is one that's 3.5. Right. Anyway, he gives it 3 stars.
That's good. You know, I think it's kind of, to me, I don't look at Dokken and think of them as heavy metal. Again, we've gone back and forth on what heavy metal is, but to me, they're a hard rock band, not a heavy metal band. So I kind of disagree with him. They're definitely more hard. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but
it would fit in that pop metal category.
To me, yeah. With the lyrics, or not with the lyric, with the sound and the production and the big vocals. I mean, again, when we did Kiss Asylum, that was what was in the big vocals. You know, Warren, Poison. It was just the sign of the times. You know, Asylum. You know, Kiss Asylum, you know, had all those big vocals at the time. You know, it's okay.
So I love Dokken. I more and more I gravitate towards
to defend
tooth and nail, but
to defend my stance on it, as I'm a big George Lynch fan, I think that's why I like this one. Now, as we discuss it and iron it all out, and points and counterpoints, I think I like it because of George, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And, you know, because I think when, you know, like I mentioned, when the Lynch Mob came out, that was fantastic. And I'm like, oh, this is what this is what Dokken should be going. And it wasn't. You know, I mean, it's its own thing. But yeah, it's awesome.
Getting back to something earlier,
like, this album is good.
George Lynch really on this album sets himself up as a guy that has his own signature tone, his signature approach. There's so few guitar players that when you hear them play, you're like, I know who that is. It just doesn't happen very often.
No, it doesn't. I do like this album.
I know, and that's why I thought it was really important for us to spend some time talking about this, because I knew you loved this one.
Yeah, thanks.
So I bought it so we'd have it here, and I like having it just because I love Dokken and
the cover.
And I think they finally nailed it with the cover. The songs, to me, the songs themselves sounded a little bit Formula Dokken, so slightly just didn't have the inspiration that stuff on the early, to me, that the stuff on the early albums did.
You made that point. That's good. I mean, and it's good. Yeah. I mean, that's why we have these discussions, right?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, now it's your turn. We obviously have to hear what you have to say. So we're gonna have a bunch of people tell me what an idiot I am, which I'm used to at this point. So that's fine. And please do.
We have thick skin. We have thick skin.
It's the way it goes. So we just want to tell you actually what we're really thinking, and that's it. So anyway, now we want to hear from you. Absolutely. What were your thoughts on this album? What were your standout tracks? And did you have and also getting back, something that you said that was really important at the beginning. It's one thing to like it when you're 18. It's another thing 38 years later to go, where is this with me now?
Yeah.
You know, is this one that I turn to a lot, or is this one that's kind of like, eh? So what is it for you? You know, you may have loved it at the time, and you go back to it now, and does it still, man, yeah, that really resonates still, or is it, yeah. So anyway, we'd love to hear that stuff. And of course, if you're not following the channel, we really appreciate you following the channel. Having that, it helps in multiple different ways, just having it continue to grow. So please follow the channel. If you're not following the channel, you'd be doing us a great favor. And like the video, of course, and always love your comments. We really appreciate that.
We do.
Yeah.
Even though when I got somebody saying that they don't even recognize me because I haven't cut my hair. Like, what the hell? But, dude,
It's so funny.
it's due. I know. But maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll grow it out. Try to
that's-
get the George. Although I'll look more like Gallagher probably than George. You know who Gallagher is.
I do.
Shit, I do.
He's
Oh,
smashing
man.
watermelons.
Yeah.
here in
Anyway,
the
thanks, you
studio.
guys. We do appreciate the comments a lot. And, you know, that's all I got, man. Other than let's keep it rocking
There you
with
go.
Dokken.
Yes,
right?
indeed. So have yourself a fantastic day.